Hello turtles! Welcome to another episode of Outside Game Dev. We're going to be talking about who is your target audience, how to discover it, and why it's important for your indie game, at least it's a business, as well as taking a hike out Wheeler Pond. We're going to go around the pond a little bit and then down a stream for the gnome stairs. So join me on another episode of Outside Game Dev. You ever played that game, Guess Who? Where you're eliminating people by guessing, like, do you have red shirt? And you knock down all the people with red shirt. Picking your target audience is something similar to that. Sometimes you're trying to eliminate on what your opponent's character actually has, so traits that your target audience actually want, and sometimes you're eliminating them by traits that you know that they don't want, right? Like if I'm making a racing game and somebody doesn't like cars, that's okay. My game's not for everybody, and I'm okay eliminating everyone that doesn't like cars, because when I'm making a racing game, I'm focused on a very target audience, trying to take the most people out of the pool so you can get to that very specific target audience. While finding your target audience might be like playing a game of Guess Who, why do you even care to find your target audience? Like, why can't you just make a game and sell it? What does a target audience offer you as a developer? It lets you know what your players want, what they desire, what they, how they behave, what they're looking for out of your game. It also lets you know what they don't want, right? By what are they scared of? What do they avoid? Where do they shop? How much money do they have? How do they get access to that money? If you're looking at somebody in middle school, they're probably going to be getting money either from birthdays or holidays, or maybe their parents will buy them a game here or there. Do their parents know about Steam? How do they play their games? Probably on console. I don't know. You have to do your research on who your target audience is, so you know how they behave and what they feel about your game. What value do they receive from playing your game? Just because I'm making racing games doesn't mean that everyone that likes racing games will like a particular game that I'm making. Turbo Boom, for example, has a lot of explosives and you leave a bunch of skid marks. It's very drifty. And the target audience is going to be somebody that really likes to make skid marks as they're driving around the racetrack, right? That's very different from somebody that wants a more realistic experience or a more competitive experience. Those are two different audiences, two different player types. And you really want to know who your game is targeting so that while you're developing your game, you can make the best decisions for that person, right? Like if I was making Turbo Boom and just kind of going with I'm making a racing game, it doesn't matter who I'm making it for, then it might have mixes of, sure, you can do some skid marks and drifting stuff, but also very competitive and also very something else, that when you start mixing it up, trying to appease everybody, you're actually lowering everybody's interest. This is actually why you don't want to try to target everyone for your game, because everyone has different interests, and like a middle schooler is going to want something very different out of a online game than someone in college. They're going to have different amounts of time that they can invest in the game. They're going to be playing for different reasons. They obviously have different budgets. In college, I had absolutely no money. I mean, I didn't have much money in middle school either, but I didn't have to pay any bills, so there was that. Anyway, it's very important to not target everybody. At least not if you don't have a budget like most of us indies don't. Whew. There's some big rocks coming up, so we're going to be taking a break. Basically, your target audience, you want to narrow it down to like somebody very specific. And the reason us indies want to narrow it down to somebody specific is so that we can actually hit that person. Obviously, you need to know that there's enough of that type of person out there that you're going to be able to make some money. But your objective is to give a certain subset of people a very high interest in your project, rather than trying to interest everybody. First, trying to make something that's going to make everybody happy is impossible, But also, even if you did succeed, you're making everybody just a little bit happy rather than chunk of people being very happy. And that's what you're really looking for, is getting a chunk of people that are very interested in your game and not just everybody being, yeah, that's okay. My example for me is, you don't like racing cars, that's okay. I'm not suiting everybody, and I don't really need to worry about people that don't like racing cars. It's absolutely okay that they're not in my audience for my games. In fact, I'd probably not want to listen to their advice too much because they're not in the audience. If somebody is trying to give me advice and they're not into racing games or not into cars, right? And they're saying, oh, but you should be doing planes instead. That might interest that person. That may be something that would get that person on board, but it wouldn't suit the target audience. And this is something really important. You need to know who your target audience is and define them, and not try to be everybody, because if you try to please everybody, it's only going to be a little bit. It's going to be low value in the end. The amount of mosquito webs. Mosquito webs? What the hell's a mosquito web? The amount of spider webs on this trail. They're everywhere. Okay, this is terrifying. If you're afraid of spiders, trigger warning. And here we go. Are you seeing this guy? That thing is monstrous. Well, guess I'm out of tripod. Giant spider in the forest stole it from me. Maybe this is why game developers stay inside. Now that you know how important it is to define a target audience and not try to aim for everybody, how exactly do you go about defining your target audience? A little bit of this comes down to research, trying to figure out who's playing games similar to yours, read some reviews, try to see if you can't find the information. Sometimes it's available through some surveys, or like you can send out a survey to your current player base if you have one, or even try to get in contact with other developers making games similar to yours and ask them what they know about the target audience. Maybe you guys can kind of help each other out. You offer up some information to them, they can offer up some information to you, and you can both win. Some of it is information that you can research, and other parts you kind of have to just define. Like I was talking about with Turbo Boom, I made it for people that like skiddies, right? Like if you like skidding around or drifting, then that's where Turbo Boom is targeting. So while some of the target audience is done by research and figuring out exactly who you're targeting, some of it is actually up to you to define who you want to be playing your game. Do you want somebody to be super competitive? Is that what you're after? Do you want somebody that's pretty casual? Like, you could decide some of this stuff as well. And it's pretty important to decide this early on so it can influence the development cycle of your game and exactly how you go about things, what decisions you make along the way, right? Going back to the Guess Who, sometimes you eliminate. People that don't like cars are not my target audience when I'm making racing games, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go down this stream a little bit, and then we're gonna be talking about what exactly is a persona. The stream was a little loud, so I returned to the view of the pond, at least the best I could, to continue talking about the persona. What exactly is a persona, and how do you go about defining one? Effectively, the persona is the collection of information that you gathered either through market research or your own decisions in building your target audience. You can have multiple personas if you want. As small indies, it does make sense to kind of focus on one persona really hard rather than spread yourself out thin. So the persona really just says, this is your age range, this is what they're doing for either work or school, like did they just enter the job market, what type of job do they have, how much money are they making, and how much money do they have to spend on games, where do they buy their games, what do they like from their games. All of this stuff is what you're trying to figure out. What is it that they enjoy and value from games? Do they like an online community? Do they like to build stuff for that community? Do they like to compete with that community? How is it that they like to interact with a game? For Accelerate, I was trying to aim for a casual market, but the game really wanted to go for difficulty. So I decided to cross off the casual area from my target audience and put in those that like difficult games, and decided to lean into what the game wanted. When somebody had found the game and they really liked difficulty, it was amazing to see. Their interest level went through the roof. It was perfect for that type of persona. Basically, your persona is all of your information that you're collecting, and try to keep them from conflicting. A single persona wouldn't want to drive very clean and competitive and like in a friendly atmosphere versus trying to drive really fast on a highway and destructive, right? That would be like Burnout Paradise and like Formula One type games, right? Defining your persona helps you bring your game together, makes it so you can deliver value to that person. You'll know their fears, you'll know what they want, their desires, what they try to avoid, how they buy games, where they find them. That's the stuff that you're looking for. So now you know how to get started on defining your target audience and why you care about that. Make sure your game is fun through prototyping. In the next video, I discussed the advantages and disadvantages to prototyping your game and why you would want to do that. So check that video out. This was another outside game dev adventure where I took you hiking along the Wheeler Pond. We didn't really go down the brook that I was expecting to too far, but it's because it was noisy. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with other developers, leave a comment below with a question and for a future video, and I'll see if I can get to that. And as always, Turtles, until later, have a good one. Not getting that tripod back. Damn fly in my eye.